Hello and welcome to another edition of Capital Calculus. I am your host, Anil Padmanabhan. Last week, India rolled out GST 2.0. Among many things, it included a slashing of rates for most items of daily consumption and a range of aspirational goods. In fact, in the few days after the GST 2.0 was rolled out, we witnessed a dramatic surge in queries and sales, especially of cars. The big question is whether this is a GST sugar high or is it the pointer or a tipping point to a new trend in India's consumer economy. Remember that in the last decade and more, India's consumer economy has undergone a makeover. It has expanded its existing cohorts and added new ones. In particular, I want to put the spotlight on the growing tribe of independent women spenders, the neo-middle class, and last but not the least, the 50 crore people who have been bootstrapped out of poverty and who are now agents in the new marketplace. To walk us through this profound makeover, we have with us in our studios today Madhurima Bhatia. She heads up comms at IPSOS. IPSOS is a global market research agency with a big footprint in India. As the head of comms, Madhurima is in a vantage point because she has to decode all of the data that IPSOS generates for the general public. So, great person to speak to. Welcome, Madhurima.
Thanks, Anil, for having me over.
So, Madhurima, I wanted to ask you, begin with this 22nd September GST 2.0. Mm-hmm. So, among other things, they slashed rates for, like I mentioned, items of daily consumption and also aspirational goods. And then in the union budget, which this government presented 6 months ago, there was a big relief, income tax relief for the lower, entry-level middle class in this country. So all of this has buoyed consumer sentiment. So my question is, given the latest trend in GST 2.0, is this a tipping point of a new consumer trend or is it just a GST sugar high?
Okay. Very interesting question indeed, Anil. So, if you see, especially our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, he has nicely timed the GST towards, the Navratri festival. And, when the whole festival, happens in India with Diwali, etc. And when Indians actually loosen their purse strings. In fact, they wait for the whole year to, buy big ticket items around this time. And now with the GST rate cuts, and which is going to give a boost, and when already the consumers are in that mindset to buy new cars or upgrade, it's also a great time to upgrade their goods from whatever old TVs and cars, etc. So I think all this is going to really boost consumerism, and it's not really a stray case that it's a mega trend, and it's really hastening the whole process of decision making. Where if the because with all the global macro factors and job cuts, etc., consumers were little bogged down with all that. Plus, also the high cost of living. So, our trends, our surveys have shown that whenever the going gets tough and, the prices are hitting the roof, then it is the discretionary spends which get cut first and not the essentials. So I think government has understood the pulse of the consumers and really looked at sweetening it for them. And, and since we also have the, the demographic dividend, and we have our domestic economy itself is good enough to steer our economy and for consumers to
So it's a great point you're making, that the timing of GST 2.0 was very significant, just ahead of festival season.
Absolutely.
Range of festivals.
Yes.
But you mentioned that this is the beginning of a mega trend, which is a question I asked in the introduction too. So can we just unpack this statement.
Yes.
I just want to put the spotlight because a lot of these are on discretionary items of spending that we have seen the
Yeah.
reduction in GST rates, automobiles,
Yes, yes.
even mobile phones, a range of aspirational goods.
Yeah.
And I talked to the new cohorts, independent purchasing by women, the neo middle class, and then of course those who have been bootstrapped out of poverty. So how do you establish this trend that you're talking about in the context of what I just said?
So, our, consumer is with the salary they get, they take the entire burden of income tax lands up on the middle class and the, affluence, and it's just 3% of the population that pays taxes of, in our country. And the government realized that, they're paying not only direct taxes, they're also paying indirect taxes. So the government, first of all, lessen the burden of direct taxes and now indirect taxes. So what will happen is now consumer, there's a boost, there's a bit of a cheer among consumers because firstly they save monies there and, they can buy aspirational goods, which was beyond the reach of the, the lower middle class, and it's for them. So I think this is a long term, this shows good. And, if you even look at our population pyramid, earlier it used to be a pyramid like this. Okay. Now it is like this bottom heavy. So you have this working class and the younger population, which is occupying, which is bottom heavy. So they have so much, they're all working class, they have the monies. So this is really boosting but then a few years from now, when the population ages, then the scenario could change a little bit. Yeah.
So just want to go back on your pyramid which you drew.
Yeah.
Is this for the overall consumer class or you're talking of only the middle class?
No, I'm talking about the population pyramid of the country.
Okay. So now within this, can we put the spotlight on this middle class?
Yes.
So actually it's a misnomer. A lot of people who call themselves middle class in the 90s today are actually rich.
Yes.
But they continue to call themselves middle class. I don't know why. In this country, we tend to call ourselves middle class when we are actually rich. And the rich, of course, are ultra rich today.
Absolutely.
So this middle class, what are the new constituents of the middle class? Are they like, the neo middle class, those who have just come in, what we could call lower middle class?
Yes.
Or are they the existing middle class, which I just said were actually rich but like to be classified? So what's the proportion?
So, someone like me, I would call myself upper middle class maybe. But, so people like us who are the salaried class who may have some incomes, but 30% goes away, straight away in direct taxes. So, all of us are, but then what's happened is that now, the people in the informal sector and those who have been moved out of poverty, their children are educated and they're all contributing to the household income. So it's become very blurred now between lower middle class, upper middle class and middle. In fact, you'll be surprised that, if I look at my cook, both the children can read and write. They are earning big monies, and what we consume, mostly they consume at home as well. So it's like blurring. It's just that we may have some of those aspirational goods. But generally now, I think we would, other than looking at middle or lower middle class, we should focus on the Generation Z, for instance, and the younger population of India, which is really driving the economy, and they are the biggest consumers. Then you have the Generation X. And, mobile telephony has also, this internet usage has also spurred people to consume, and Q-commerce, e-commerce.
In fact,
Q-commerce is quick commerce,
okay.
And which is that all your Blinkits and Zeptos and the Swiggies of the world. I can't annoy one of my friends who works with Swiggy. So, all of them,
So, Madhurima, I want to ask you that in the 70s, it was the first time the middle class dared to dream with the Bajaj scooter.
Yes.
Then we had to wait till the 1980s till the Maruti launched its affordable car.
Yes.
Once again, the middle class started dreaming.
Yes.
It's only after the big license Raj was dismantled in 91 that the whole consumer economy started to gather legs in the 90s.
Yes.
So now fast forward to where we are today and all that we discuss. So are we seeing a similar watershed moment today, which will, when we look back 10 years from now, we'll say this was the tipping point where India's consumer economy started not just gaining legs, but serious traction?
Yeah, I think most of it you can also attribute to the geo effect, where it became democratized internet usage, and it spurred people across not only big towns but even small towns, etc., where they started using mobile for shopping and for consuming, etc. But when you see the previous generation, they came with some bit of a baggage of the partition and all those that baggage of savings, etc. The new class that you have, which is Generation Z and even millennials, they are all self-created people. They have learned, they don't, while Generation Z, they say they live off their parents' money mostly. But these people have but then parents give them the money and they have the wherewithal to spend. So what you're seeing is that since also the age factor and the burgeoning population that you have here, so they are driving this population is driving the economy right now. But the worry is only of the Generation X, which will be soon in the seniors, and then they will be more dependent unless some of them who are affluent. So then the whole dynamics could change slightly.
Okay.
And they could become a burden on the economy unless, something is done to create jobs for them.
So is this a watershed moment?
This is right now, it is India's day. Right now, it is our day. And the way we are, it's not just happening at one level. Government is also doing something on inclusive economy, where, the government launched this scheme called, I'll tell you what it is called. It's for Lakpati women. It's called the... So, there... and then you have this microfinance one of the government, where microcredit is given to Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, for instance. So, all the, small micro... So, they don't have any collaterals that they have to, worry about. Giving collateral... assets to put on. This government is giving them microcredit to start their businesses. And in fact, this has also given something spurred on people looking at two incomes, which is called a side hustle versus the core income. So people are and with the internet and social media, I think it's
actually you
and D2C.
Flagged a very important point on women and the benefits.
Yes.
One is, of course, what you're talking about, how they can grow their entrepreneurial skills and base. But on the other side, in 2018, there were zero cash transfers for women in this country.
Yes.
Today, it's about 2 lakh crore annually.
Yes.
Okay, which is twice the Manrega budget.
Yes.
Now, the PM has just launched a scheme in Bihar.
I heard that on the radio.
Correct.
Yes.
So, which means, the cohort of women, which has always been ignored politically in this country and economically, are now central to this consumer economy.
Yes.
And we have seen studies in Jharkhand. I just interviewed a guest a few weeks ago, where he talked about how it has changed the nutrition habits because of direct benefit transfers of cash to women.
Yeah.
So, do you see this constituency of women or the cohort of women now influencing the consumer economy in a way that we have not witnessed so far?
Yes. And in fact, this is going to percolate even to the smaller towns and even rural, because now they feel little financially independent. And, they will spend the money on the education of the children, on the nutrition of the children. And it is, benefiting them. And in fact, we had done a study to understand on, the shopping habits of men and women. And men and women were equally placed on e-commerce, shopping on e-commerce. This is really, just see the confidence that it has. And, earlier you had the middlemen who would take away all your money. And now government opened these bank accounts for women. And there's also many, these social help groups which are helping women open their bank accounts. And with the direct bank transfer, the kind of, empowerment they feel, or how empowered they feel, and, financially independent, they don't have to ask for money to fulfill their needs and desires and to spend on, for the children.
So are your Ipsos surveys picking up this makeover?
Yes, actually, we do this Swachh Bharat survey for the government, and we see that most of the, with the participation is both of men and women, and we see that, most of the behavioral change that is being driven, it's driven by women and men equally, and women are not just receding in the background; they are playing a very active role in, driving social change. Earlier, they were just in the four walls. They had no say in the matter. And in fact, we've done also a couple of studies where you'll be surprised. Like, I work in the corporate world. We have gender parity in the workplaces, and it's as per merit. Like, we get our salaries, there's no discrimination for women in the corporate world. In most companies, where it's all by merit and your whatever structure
And
you
skills,
sit at,
basically.
and skills. And in fact, India is, people don't see the good side of India, the kind of empowered women feel here. And, even like I said, we did a study to map, even shopping on Q-commerce. Women were shopping more than men, also because of convenience, etc.
So tell me something, Madhurima. You earlier in our conversation, you pointed, or rather gave an example of your household help,
Yes.
where there is a convergence of consumption trends between you and them.
Yes.
So then you talked about how e-commerce is spreading to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns.
Yes.
So is this convergence of consumer behavior also influencing this new consumer? You just flagged women as one big cohort among them. Is it happening? I mean, is it because of a happy convergence of consumer behavior, spread of consumer platforms that we are seeing this new consumer economy take off?
Yes. Actually, also one big factor which I missed out on, earlier, if you were from a good background, like I'm from an army background, so my father could say, give admission to my daughter. Like, we could use that influence, not anymore. It's an equal opportunity now. So it's not about just equity. It's all about equity, not just equality. It's about equity. So even at, when you go for your exams, etc., everyone is given equal. Under this new government, I would say, every person feels empowered, even in the villages. They don't feel, earlier it was, there was a big separation between affluence and lower people. But now they've really risen up how they and their spending and how they feel and getting empowered in so you see now it's all about if you have like this study, like you see so many examples of this the driver's son has just become an IS officer. So it's all becoming now.
So glass ceilings are big.
Yeah, it's now equal opportunity for everyone. And now with democratization of internet, and you see these people making those short videos. We are all watching it, and it's all from rural. We watch it. So it's becoming one, I won't say homogeneous world, but it is becoming a consumption. It's not that there was a lady I met once. I was buying Tang, and this lady she was a household help. She was buying Tang for her children. So it's not that earlier we used to say affluent or SECA consumes Tang. It's not anymore. It's consumption is now, I see people buy, now they buy whatever, they like because they have the wherewithal, they have the funds. They have so many people earning in the family now. Yeah.
So actually, I've read pieces and even seen some of your data, which says that in the type 3, class 3, 4 cities, we are witnessing the trend where consumers are very conscious of brands.
Yes. In fact, what our studies have shown, that in big cities like affluent people like us, we are focusing, we buy on e-commerce or Q-commerce, we are only focusing on food. And we are focusing, whereas in small towns, they are so they are spending only on apparels or to upgrade their fashion statements and to wear, better brands of clothes. because now they have access to it, which was earlier not. The distribution, etc. But even if there's no physical distribution, now you have access to all the aspirational brands, and sometimes even at markdowns, because there is a section which says sale, and you get access to at rock bottom prices. So now it's not just restricted, like I said, to earlier we could just say this is SECA, blah, blah, blah. Now SECB, SEC, you can't actually pin it down to them. That's why now people look at durable, ownership, etc. In fact, they have changed the whole. Yeah, now in fact the SEC grid also looks at the education of the woman in the household. By the way, earlier they only looked at occupation and not income. Occupation and education, that's it, of the chief wage earner. But now the new SEC, definition, they first upgraded to durable ownership, that what kind of durables do you own in the family. But now they look at the education of the woman of the household.
Oh, that's
because that is really driving the change. Because like they say, if you educate one woman, you educate the whole family. And she is the gatekeeper. People don't realize it. Even in smaller households where they say that women are, not this, but they have the final say. In fact, most of the houses, the whole family is around the woman and the kind of influence she wields. Yeah.
Finally, Madhurima, I wanted to come to, you did allude to it, the Q-commerce, basically, the quick commerce economy, right? So there is an underlying trend to that, which is basically that is very impulse buying, so whether it is, impulse may be inspired due to some necessity. Say you're cooking at home and you ran out of turmeric, so you want it. Or like you said, somebody wants food and they feel like eating something, they go in for quick commerce. And quick commerce is now expanding its range. There is nothing they don't provide, which in fact, regular commerce, there's a tremendous overlap. So this impulse economy, where do you see this finding its place in the overall consumer economy of India?
I think the consumers become very impatient. Now he wants everything like instant gratification. So, if you're feeling really sad at home, then you pamper yourself by saying, okay, what can I buy? Maybe I can buy cosmetics. Maybe I can buy this new dress, which is everything. Now it's catering not just to the daily needs. It is catering to you have to gift somebody. So it's this Q-commerce comes within 10 minutes. So this has changed the whole landscape. In fact, it's going to hit our Kirana stores in a big way, I'm sure. They must be badly hit because the dark stores, now they are so well stocked with everything. And, from premium to, I was saying, you have access to all the premium brands, sports apparel, to, you can think of all the, some of the luxury goods also have come there now. Look at all the premium brands are there, cosmetics, or you look at, food and everything. So there is a whole repertoire of brands that you get there. It's amazing. And the whole, 10 minutes delivery, etc. So, so that's hurting e-commerce now. Q-commerce is hurting. So what they've done, I came to know, one of my colleagues told me that Myntra has something called Myntra Now, where they deliver within 90 minutes or 60 minutes. Because earlier they used to take a day or two. So I think because of the impatient consumer who wants to, because of the high stress levels, people are finding Q-commerce as like a treasure trove.
Because basically it's time and geography. It overcomes both handicaps.
And
you
makes you happy.
Take your car out to go out and get something.
And people who want to really have munchies and to watching TV, to have a good, so it's all accessible within seconds.
Madhurima, this interesting subtext of what you just said, the shopping that is coming to us rather than we going to the shopping. There is a very important subtext of trust.
Yes.
Okay, we are a country with a cultural heritage of trusting only physical contact, in person.
Yes.
So now you are happy you're saying even in rural India now, people are buying apparel which is expensive, can go wrong and delivery issues, but they are buying it. So what does that tell us about the overall trust quotient in Indian in India right now?
Actually, all these apps, they have a very good. If you don't like it, you return it. So it's giving you that flexibility to return the goods within 1 month or a few days, and they pick it up from your household wherever you live. So I think the whole thing, if you don't like it, you liked it on the site, but you don't like it when you get it. So I think this whole ecosystem is now geared to please the consumer. Because if the consumer gets upset, then he will switch to another brand. In fact, so many times, consumers just switch to a rival brand because I won't use the word, the consumer is highly promiscuous now when it comes to brands, because they just don't, they won't put up with you. If you don't have the apparel, then they will move to another rival brand. So I think brands have it really bad on them because they have to deliver. And now, with festival, they have to also, gear themselves up, because are they really stocked? Because if you stock out, then you lose out. So that's how it is. Yeah.
So basically, consumer first. We'll stop on that note. Thank you for speaking to us, Madhurima.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So India's consumer economy, as Madhurima confirmed to us, is in the middle of a compelling makeover. And like she said, in this economy, it is consumer first. It has never happened in the history of India's consumer economy where the Indian consumer has figured on top of the agenda, which of course puts the onus on producers, marketers, platforms, and everyone else. But it's a healthy shift. Now, the basic takeaway from what we discussed today is that the new consumer economy is built on consumer choices. How the consumer chooses will determine and influence the rest of the economy. So we may be, if indeed in the middle of a wave, then redefining India's economy overall, not just its consumer economy, over the next decade. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to StratNewsGlobal.Tech on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And please do share your thoughts, ideas, and suggestions with us. I'm available on X at Capital Calculus. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, stay safe.